Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to another Sentinel vlog. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've done one of these. Yeah, it turns out reviewing weekly series on a weekly basis. I'm of course talking about my Doctor Who and Ruby reviews, which, if you haven't seen them, I recommend them. But yeah, doing a weekly series really eats up a lot of your filming time. Also, I'm doing another unboxing video. Technically, this is Big Finish, the review. Originally, it was going to be called the Countermeasures Unboxing, and then in brackets, ... mostly. And I'll circle back around to that in a little bit. But yeah, what happened is one of my products in the mail wasn't right. So paranoia set in, and I opened everything to double check. So rather than unboxing everything and going over it, I'm just gonna cut out the middleman there and just go over it. We got quite a few purchases to get through, so, and I have it sorted out. I'm gonna start with the other stuff, and then I'll get into the Doctor Who stuff, and then we'll close out this video with the box sets. Alright, and so we're gonna start with the other stuff. Oh, first, actually, can't believe I forgot that. We'll start with Vortex magazine, because every order comes with a copy of Vortex. In my last few orders over the past 2 months, I got 2 copies, because it's monthly. This one, which I remember Big Finish talking about on Twitter, they had an art contest, and the winner would be featured on the cover. This was the winner, featuring River Song, a character I love. And I say it every time it comes up, but Diary of River Song, favorite Doctor Who spinoff. And on the back, whoop, dropped it, almost dropped it, features the 8th Doctor and his companion, Lucy Miller, because I believe around the time this copy came out, Big Finish announced they were doing more stories with the 8th Doctor and his companion, Lucy Miller. I believe they said it was set between series 1 and 2. Because if you know, they're not new adventures. Like, the 8th Doctor doesn't swing back around and pick up Lucy, because if you know how the 8th Doctor adventures ended, yeah, that would be kind of impossible. And then this one, the more recent one. This one advertises the new Unit set coming out, which I don't listen to Unit, so I can't say anything about. And the 7th Doctor Adventures box set, which I believe these are adaptations of Virgin novels. After Doctor Who was cancelled in the 80s and before it was rebooted in 2005, Virgin Publishing published a series of novels continuing the adventures of Doctor Who. And I believe these are either adaptations of novels or they just feature 2 companions, Chris and Roz, from the novels. I should have looked more into that. Anyway, on to the CDs, because that's what you're all here for. So starting off, I'm going to look at Big Finish Classics. As I've said in past videos, the Big Finish Classic range is fully cast adaptations, so they're not just book readings of classic novels and such. Like, I've showed in the past that I have King Lear and L. Frank Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I really like the classics, I like the idea of it, and I really want to expand more on it. And what I got, because these were on sale around Halloween, were Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of the Baskervilles. So I have to admit, the Sherlock Holmes range I'm actually really interested in. Because while I haven't read any of the books from the various movies and TV shows and so on and so forth, I am kind of interested in the character, and I thought, oh, this would be one of the better ways to check it out. And one of the things that drew my interest was that Sherlock Holmes in this range is played by Nicholas Briggs, who, if you're familiar with New Who, he is the voice of the Daleks and a lot of the other monsters that have shown up throughout Doctor Who. He is one of the co-founders of Big Finish, and he regularly provides his voice on audio as well. I went with The Hound of the Baskervilles because it is the most famous Sherlock Holmes story, arguably. So I thought, good place to start. I really like The Hound of the Baskervilles, and yeah, it got me interested enough to check out the rest of the Sherlock Holmes range. Especially because the Sherlock Holmes CDs are actually really cheap. And the other Big Finish classic I got was actually their first story for the Big Finish Classics range. The Phantom of the Opera. Now, this is not an adaptation of the musical. If it was, I wouldn't get it. I am not a fan of the musical. Just personal taste. I love musicals. I tried to watch Phantom several times. I could just never get in it. But no, this is an adaptation of the original novel by Gaston Leroux. And I was told that it was one of the best things Big Finish had ever done. And yeah, it was really good. Not much more to say about that there. Now the Doctor Who stuff. So first, little backstory here. Actually, for both of these, perfect. With the debut of Series 11 and the debut of the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, Big Finish has been having a weekly sale on specific Doctors. So, like, when Series 11 premiered and The Woman Who Fell to Earth aired, they had a sale on the first Doctor. The next week, when Episode 2 aired, they had a sale on the second Doctor, and so on and so forth. Now, at the time of filming this, we're on the sixth Doctor. Anyway, these next two I got in those sales. The first one is The Scorchies, a companion chronicle. Like I've said in the past, the companion chronicles are usually an actor playing the companion and a guest star telling about a short adventure they had with the Doctor. Sort of a fun take on it. The Scorchies, everyone has told me is good. The Scorchies stars Katie Manning as the third Doctor's companion, Jo Grant, and she is facing the Scorchies. Evil, alien Muppets. No, please look, my face is completely straight while saying this. You can even see them on the cover. Despite the ridiculousness of that premise, The Scorchies is actually a phenomenal story. Really funny, really dark, and just a lot of fun. And the other one I have is The Black Hole, from a second Doctor audio from the early adventures. And oh, something's on there. Got it. And as you can see, I already opened this one to switch it to its alternate cover. Yeah, the thing about Big Finish is that for some of the Doctors, I don't think they have any for the 8th Doctor yet, they actually have alternate covers, some with their standard logo, and then the others with the logo and font design specific to, come on, that Doctor's era. Now, as I said, this is from the early adventures. The best way I can sum up the early adventures is that think the main range meets the companion chronicles. So they are full cast, 4-part adventures, but like the companion chronicles, they are narrated. Which, it's kind of a hit. Now, the early adventures tell the adventures of the first and second Doctor. In them, the first Doctor was originally played by William Russell, who played the first Doctor's companion Ian Chesterton, and now he is played by Peter Purves, who played the first Doctor's companion Stephen Taylor, and the second Doctor is played by Fraser Hines, who played the second Doctor's companion Jamie. Now, the early adventures are, one, told from the first and second Doctors, are told for the first and second Doctors. The third Doctor has his own thing going on, and they're told in the early style of Doctor Who, where we didn't know about the Time Lords, and, no concrete information was given about the Doctor. From what I've heard, The Black Hole is one of the better stories in the early adventures. I was going to say one of the best, but I don't think it's considered one of the best. I just think it's considered better than some of the other ones. But what really got me into this story is the monk. Now, the monk, I believe I've talked about a little bit in the past. The monk was a Time Lord villain who the first Doctor met in the story, The Time Meddler. and he showed up again in the Daleks' master plan, and that was all we saw of him. And then in the Eighth Doctor adventures, we saw him again, played by Graham Garden this time, who Graham Garden is my favorite monk. And then that was it again. And then I believe it was the Black Hole that did it first. I don't remember, but and then the Black Hole came out, where we got a new incarnation of the monk, played by Rufus Hound. And that is what partially one of the driving forces between me getting this story, is because Big Finish has announced one of their other new spin-offs, Missy, starring Michelle Gomez, reprising her incarnation of the Master. Also, I'm not getting salty about it this time, because they also announced the Paternoster Gang, which I'm ecstatic about. Anyway, in Missy, in Volume 1 anyway, she is going to meet the Rufus Hound incarnation of the monk. So I thought I would check this out just to get an idea of the character, and I really enjoyed it. It's a story I really recommend. Alright, and then the next two are the last two I got, the last two single Doctor Who releases I got from the Mary Shelley trilogy. Now, in one of my early unboxings, I showed you I got The Silver Turk, a Cyberman story. And not counting the anthology, which I believe was called The Company of Friends, these three stories make up the Mary Shelley trilogy, in which the Eighth Doctor briefly travels with Frankenstein author Mary Shelley as his companion. I love that premise, because I really like that idea of, oh, here's a famous sci-fi or fantasy author. Let's let them travel with the Doctor and see how it inspired their work. Which, I mean, I get why they don't always do it, because when you see the Doctor meet a famous historical figure a lot in Doctor Who, classic or new, you see the Doctor sort of rub off on some of the most famous things that person has done. Like in The Unquiet Dead, Charles Dickens, when he met the Doctor, talked about finishing The Mystery of Edwin Drood. And I imagine after a while, doing this repeatedly can get old and grating. So while I would like to see more of it, I'm glad there isn't more of it. Anyway, the Mary Shelley trilogy starts with The Silver Turk, which I already have, and which many people consider the second best Cyberman story in Big Finish after Spare Parts. Although I do believe that mindset may have changed now that Hour of the Cybermen has come out, because everyone is raving about Hour of the Cybermen. And then the Mary Shelley trilogy continues with The Witch from the Well, and concludes with Army of Death. Neither of which I can really comment on, because I haven't listened to either of them yet. Now, the box sets, and then we're done. So first up is Iris Wild Time Series 5, also known as Wild Time Reloaded. In the past, I've talked about Iris Wild Time a fair amount. And I stand by this statement. She is the Deadpool of Doctor Who. Because the breaking the fourth wall, the humor, the being a parody of the Doctor, and so on. And I really like Iris. I want to see more of her. The Wormery is one of my favorite Sixth Doctor stories. And this year, in December, I believe, Big Finish is releasing a Seventh Doctor story where he will encounter Iris. And Panda, Iris's companion, who is is he a robot, or I don't remember exactly what, but he is basically an animated toy panda. Now, the previous Iris series were all 3 or 4 one-hour stories in a box set, of course. Wild Time Reloaded Series 5 changed up the formula a little bit. Now, instead of 3 or 4 one-hour stories, Wild Time Reloaded is 8 half-hour stories. And I really think this format fits for Iris and her style of adventuring. The final story, the 8th story, Looking for a Friend, is my personal favorite in the set. And finally, because this all goes together, the rest is countermeasures. Now, I talked about this in my last unboxing. I think it was my last one. Yeah. I got Countermeasures Series 1. Countermeasures stars Group Captain Ian Gilmore, Professor Rachel Jensen, and Dr. Allison Williams, the group the 7th Doctor and Ace teamed up with in Remembrance of the Daleks. And in this series, they are joined by Sir Toby Kinsella, a civil servant, who, I believe it said, who helps them in various... It's sort of a 60 set spy series, and that sort of inspired the aesthetic because it's set in the 60s, it's a spy series, so it's black and white. One of the reasons I first got Countermeasures is because on YouTube, online, in articles, etc., so on and so forth, no one really talked about it. And that kind of got me interested because I wanted to know about it. So, little by little, I bought the series, and then I learned that due to low sales, Big Finish is actually going to be discontinuing the series. In January of next year, the series finale to Countermeasures, called The Hollow King, will close out the series. But yeah, no, I started listening to it, and I love Countermeasures. I'd say it is my second favorite Doctor Who spinoff after The Diary of River Song. So, yeah, when they announced that they were concluding Countermeasures and releasing one more story next year, they put the rest of the series on sale, and I got it. So I got Series 2, which was really good. Running out of room here. Series 3. Series 4, which is my personal favorite so far, because I'm not done with the series. And then they changed things up a little bit. Starting with Who Killed Toby Kinsella. Now, Who Killed Toby Kinsella is the prequel to The New Countermeasures, which, as you can see, going from that black and white 60s spy aesthetic, yeah, been talking for a little bit, now it's in color, and rather than set in the 60s, The New Countermeasures is set in the 70s. And then there was The New Countermeasures, Series 1, and finally, The New Countermeasures Series 2, which, this is where I first heard of Countermeasures. I don't remember what was coming out at the time, or what I ordered, or whatnot, but I remember logging into Big Finish's website and seeing The New Countermeasures advertised with the return of the Yeti. The Yeti was a second Doctor foe. Yeah, that was led by the Great Intelligence, who more recently showed up in New Who, first played by Sir Ian McKellen, and then played by Richard E. Grant. So yeah, this was my most recent Big Finish look back review. I can't call it an unboxing because I didn't actually open anything on camera. So what did you think? Drop a conversation in the comments. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click that little bell next to subscribe because that'll give you notifications when I upload. Also, in the description, there's a link to my Twitter where you can find channel updates and much more. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.